Well, this is awkward. Recently, I made a poll in which I asked if you guys wanted me to create at times content slandering a show instead of just going for reviews. And it won in a landslide. 1-0, literally. So now I'm gonna do it. Why? Because why not? Sometimes I need to drain my hatred towards something. Sometimes. Not every day. Maybe. And the show that has piqued my hate for a couple months already is solo leveling. Oh no! This is another one of those guys. Another one of those elitists that hates all of the new animes. And if we do not watch the show that he is watching from 1977 with no translation, so you have to see it in parts from different translators and all of them collide with each other, you are a very awful tourist. Kinda, but not really. As I already said, sometimes I need to drain, and in this case, this show hit me like a truck. The first time that I heard about this show was like any other, just a random comment in Twitter talking about, oh, this new anime that is coming. It was slightly more important than usual because Solo Leveling was the most well-known manga, period, which is something important because it's a big part of the entirety of the new wave of Japanese animes combining with these Korean animes and to a lesser extent Chinese ones as well. But yeah, this was my first time actually knowing about this full on as an anime. And I actually didn't care that much. It was just whatever. Then it came out and there were a lot of mixed opinions on the matter. A lot of people liked it, a lot of people hated it. But once again, I didn't truly cared. I didn't watch it at all. The problem came out once the second season aired, and as you can already know, when the Crunchyroll Awards came out. You know, I'm not someone that follows to the letter things such as awards and rankings. They are definitely a good tool to tell you if something is good or not. But that doesn't mean that a rating is gonna be always accurate. Sometimes I have seen shows that are barely above 7 out of 10 in something like my anime list, and they are, in my opinion at the very least, way better than shows that have well over 8. So, you know, that is not the most important deal. But knowing that Crunchyroll gave the award to this was kind of annoying. Not once again because I care about the awards, but rather the implications of it. You see, when an award is awarded, it makes something important, and it's that that award makes to a lesser extent or to a higher extent, but that makes that show the face of something. If the show of the year in the Emmys happen to be a phenomenal masterpiece, it's gonna be well respected. However, if it is a completely mediocre show, the awards and the entirety of the regular television is gonna be a slander for that year. And that kinda may be the reason as to why I started doubting about Solo Leveling. You see, I knew about the other shows from the year. I knew a lot about Soho no Frieren and how it was well beloved before I even watched it, and I knew a little bit at the very least about Apothecary Diaries and how it grew in the heart of so many people, despite the fact that it was a kinda unknown show prior to the anime. So I knew that the quality of those two, even if I didn't fully trust it, I knew that it was high. So watching a show like Solo Leveling was like, huh, is this actually the best? After that, I decided to watch them. I am yet to watch Apothecary Diaries, but I saw completely Son of Frieren, and I then decided to go and watch Solo Leveling in the middle. Not only because of the whole winning anime of the year, but because a friend recommended it to me, and also because it's one of the highest rated animes in my anime list. I'm doing something related with watching every single high ranked anime, so whether I liked it or not, it was forced. So I decided to watch it, and what was my surprise? The show is really bad. Okay, I know, once again, I'm listening to an elitist. Look at that. One of the last videos that he did was about Legend of the Galactic Heroes. And he has done shows that I have never heard of, therefore he's an elitist. Maybe, but not really. You see, I am also someone that enjoys watching mediocre things from here and there. If it wasn't because of the bad stuff or mediocre stuff, how can you actually enjoy something that is truly good? You cannot. That is the whole reason as to why, in my opinion, certain shows are so worth watching, even if they're not that big of a deal. For example, how can you appreciate such a masterpiece as Berserk if you haven't seen some other truly mediocre seinens in between? I think that makes it even more impressive. But the thing with Solo Leveling is that it's not like that. Solo Leveling is sold as a truly good show. And as I'm saying, even though the ratings are not everything, the ratings support that at the very least the vast majority of the people truly believed that it was very, very good. And that, as I'm saying, was not the case. So I'm gonna make a video trying to talk about why Solo Leveling fails to be a truly good anime. So yeah, if you want more content of me actually slandering something, or you just want more content of me doing regular reviews, comment down below, and if you like this video, like and subscribe, or whatever. Let's go to the video, shall we? Before actually starting with why I believe that the show fails, I will start talking about the good parts of the show. Because I believe that truly logical criticism is grounded on the fact that you are actually actively managing to understand the good parts of something. If you cannot even understand why somebody would like something, then you are in the wrong. So I will talk about that. The first and the most obvious positive that this show has is undisputably the animation. It is absolutely stellar. One of the best animation that has ever come out from a seasonal anime. To the point that it kind of feels weird to call it a seasonal anime, even though it technically is. The second part that I believe that it truly shows how good the show can be for some is definitely the soundtrack. Oh my god, what a fantastic soundtrack. Almost everything feels so good and so perfectly placed, to the point that I feel like it's a certainty that whoever did that part of the show was one of the greatest to ever do it. Both the one that created the songs and the one that decided to put them where they were put. It was fantastic, and I have absolutely nothing wrong to say about that. Yeah, no nothing. The third part of what I think that are very good stuff, it's the battle. The battles or the fights are really spectacular, and some of them are really well thought out. Some of them. Not all of them are fantastic, but there's some of them that I truly believe that are very, very good. Not very good from the standards of a show like, I don't know, One Piece or Hunter x Hunter, where the battles have not only great animation but a lot of meaning behind, but just for the standards of a regular show. They are really, really good battles to look at, and I totally understand why so many people would be hooked with them. I totally do. But there are certain aspects that I truly despise about the show and makes me completely remove everything of what I just stated. There's a lot of people that says that certain shows should be seen at different times, which I agree. I personally believe that there's a lot of different shows that if I watched it earlier or maybe even later, I would have appreciated them even more or way more than what I usually or what I originally did. I totally believe that that is the case. And I truly believe that if I watched Solo Leveling when I was just 18 or 19, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot. The issue is that right now I'm 74 years old. Kinda, 5 years more, 5 years less, but you know what I mean. And right now I am watching something for more than just the spectacular value. Now that doesn't mean that I do not want to watch something to pass the time. Because that's what I actually did with Solo Leveling. I watched it to pass the time because I was watching Legend of the Galactic Heroes, which is an extremely dense show, and I decided to put it in a stop and occasionally watch Solo Leveling just to, drain the whole deep talk and all of that insane. You need to think about 7 different wars happening at the same time and 2 coup d'etats just to watch something that was entertaining. And I thought that it was gonna work phenomenally. But then the problems start to arise. The first issue with the show is definitely the story. Now, something that is usually said is that a simple story doesn't mean that it's a bad one, which I agree. A lot of shows have simple yet effective stories. The best example is Demon Slayer, that even though I would never put it in my top 10, I totally understand why some people actually like the story. It's simple yet effective. However, that is not the case with Solo Leveling. The story is basically non-existent. The guy that is the weakest in history, all of the guys that have powers, is all of a sudden struck with certain things that allow him to become much stronger in a world where nobody else can upgrade. And that's basically it. There's the other part of the story, which is the mother side, which basically is he trying to heal his mother. But that one kinda doesn't work at all. You see, the main issue with that part of the mother, which is supposed to be like the main driven force of the entirety of the emotional side of the story, is that it's just not actually that relevant. You see, the mother is said to be in a position where she will never wake up. And that's it. There's nothing else, there's no asterisk. It's just that she is not waking up. There is no sense of urgency as to why he is rushing to try and find the way to heal her. There is none. So everything what he's doing, granted, if you were in his position, you would do it as fast as possible. But a lot of times he is shown to just be recklessly doing stuff to basically being as close to failing as possible while always being saved by the bell, which is something that I'm gonna talk about later on as well. Also, another part is that he's supposed to care about his sister and her education, which is not an issue at all in the entirety of the story. Like, up until the second season, it's not an issue. So, okay. So the problem with the story starts to be noticeable. However, that is not a major complaint if you manage to use the other parts of the story in a good way. Now let's go with the other issues. The second one is the world building. There's basically none. Like, the world building is just your stereotypical video game like show in which there are powers, there are power-ups specifically for the protagonist, but basically power-ups, and there's dungeons and stuff like that, and there's basically almost nothing interesting, barring some very specific instances in which there's something like, for example, all of a sudden double dungeon, or a red portal dungeon, there's basically nothing that truly makes the world feel extremely unique. Yes, there is the crystals that they use, like the things that they mine, and the reason why they go to the portals and they don't just try to close them and that's it. But they actually, up until like the end of second season, have shown literally nothing that makes them even remotely interesting. Like, yeah, they're a source of money and a source of energy, but that is not shown at all. It's just told to you, making it seem like it's gonna be important because the crystals are like the main reason as to why people go to the dungeons, and they just don't care. And that is not important at all in the first two seasons. So it feels like completely empty and something that is trying to work like world building while not actually building anything. And the other part of what I already established, the fact that this is based on a, video game like story, it just feels like you are making, Sword Art Online all over again a decade later. And Sword Art Online is still to this day marked as like the poster boy of the good potential terrible execution show. So being basically a copy of the concept while changing little to nothing feels like a very odd decision, a very, very awkward one. Also, the fact that for the most part there's literally no originality in the world building also is a big complaint. Like, the enemies are like a giant snake, a giant spider, regular humans that are bad, then a regular wyvern, a knight, and the most surprising of them all is an ant, which I will have to complain a lot later on as well. Oh my god, that ant. But stop talking about the world building by itself. I will talk about the second biggest issue that I have with the show, which is the secondary characters. The secondary characters. The names secondary characters. Yeah, one of the main issues with the show is how insanely forgettable every single character that is not the main protagonist is. Besides like one or maybe two that are slightly interesting, every character feels like it's not fulfilling any meaningful role in a story. You see, the thing that I said of the story not necessarily needing to be good in order to have an enjoyable story is actually true if you manage to have interesting characters and interesting protagonists and secondary characters. That's the reason as to why so many comedies work. Most of the comedies do not have a story at all, but they engage you with the characters. This show doesn't use those characters well at all. Every single secondary character feels like it's fulfilling one of three roles. Either they are trying to be like supporters of Sung Ji Woo by just licking his boots. There are the girls that are sexually attracted to him, which includes his sister, which, to be honest, I'm not someone that actively hates the incest in anime. But it's kind of weird for a show that doesn't showcases anything weird at all anywhere else. And the third part are just characters that either hate the main protagonist or try to stop it and fail miserably. That's basically the whole character cast. And that doesn't even count the villains, because I do not know how to even catalog those villains, because they feel like less than characters. Most of them, if not all of them, feel just like the typical force of nature, a quote-unquote character whose only reason as to why it's a character is because it has a name and it's doing something. But they are not interesting at all. They do not show any kind of personality trait, almost at all, other than, you know, hit, kill, woohoo. And as I'm saying, the fact that they are so forgettable and the only ones that you can even remember the names are the ones that eventually turn into the shadows of Sung Ji-woo, it's a very major red flag for a show. Because as I'm saying, the heart of a show is the characters. It doesn't matter how interesting the story is, because if the characters are not good, the story is not gonna feel good. And when the show already doesn't have that big of a story, and this one is not even average, then you need those characters to carry you, which this show fails miserably. But wait, there is another character that you have not talked about. You are talking about how the secondary characters are mediocre or bad. But what about the main protagonist, huh? Yeah, do you remember that I said that the secondary characters were the second major complaint? You know what is the first one, I think that you already understand. Sung Ji-woo is unironically the most unbearable protagonist I have ever seen. We're talking about a guy that should be doing something, that should be making you be invested in the story. And this guy made quite literally the opposite effect on me. You see, one of the things that I actually liked about the show early on was the first two chapters and how the first battle was handled, which was fantastic for me and actually the peak of the show. The first two chapters. Yeah, the character was actually someone that cared for others and was willing to sacrifice itself, but even him understood that the people had malice, so even him kinda hated them, which you know is something really logical, especially on the place that he is. So why did they decided to strip all of that away to try to make it the stereotypical badass protagonist? Like, he's not even doing it in a particularly good way. I have seen seasonal animes that portray way stronger protagonists and they just go out of the true coolness and actually show something truly interesting and different from them. Like how one guy kills another one with his heartbeat. Like, you know, that was cool. This guy is just trying to fake coolness. And aura. Yeah, the actual big issue with Sung Ji-woo is the way that they want to portray how he is based on hype moments and aura. And that is not good. You see, as I'm saying, I was invested on him until one thing happened, which was the chapter in which he fights against like 5 dudes, which is the first time that he shows his aura part. And the whole reason as to why he does that is so bad that I genuinely do not understand why it was made there. Like, oh look, he has aura. Oh look, he is gonna defend the only guy that has ever cared about him. Oh wait, there's someone else. Okay, we don't talk about that person. Let's make it look like this is the first one. Oh yeah, he's so cool. Look at how his eye shines. His eye. Yeah, it's not good. The moment in which his aura starts being something that is noticeable, it starts being bad, because it makes you feel out so hard of the show. There are certain points that other animes do similar stuff and they somehow work, but in this show it doesn't. Maybe because the story is not engaging by itself, maybe because the secondary characters are not something that you care about at all, I don't know, but it just feels so fake to try and make you care about he doing something interesting when he is not interesting by itself. If that was something that happened just once, I would understand it, yeah, but it's something that happens constantly throughout the show. He is showing how cool he is, how everyone is drooling for him, and the ones that are not drooling for him are drooling because they are probably are hopeless and they want to die before he lays a hand on them. Or maybe they want to touch him in a improper way. But yeah, the fact that all of that happens is just unbearable. Also because of one other thing that happens in the show. Oh, the plot armor. Ugh. Now, as someone that knows a little bit about storytelling, it's obvious that plot armor is meaningful in a story, but it's something that has to happen. If there is not plot armor, then you are not telling a story about a character. He is the main protagonist, so he needs to have plot armor. Of course. That doesn't mean that every single instance in which he can truly lose, he should be able to somehow survive. There is like 3 instances in which his aura of he being the superstar of the show doesn't shine the brightest, and he gets completely demolished at every single one of them. Yet he manages to survive all of them by sheer luck. In the last battle of the first season is the most egregious case, in which the rival wants to kill him without using his sword for some reason. Yeah, the guy that is supposed to be a knight protecting the throne of his king all of a sudden throws his sword because Son Ji-woo lost his. Yeah, that is definitely good writing. Not only that, but he is also completely demolished, and it's just for some sheer unknown reason that he somehow survives. And he somehow manages to win that battle. But wait, there's something more. There is an almost endless amount of enemies also coming out. And he's already drained. So he's actually gonna die, right? No. He forgot the daily missions that just so happened to put it in a different dimension for hours in order to rest. Just for that moment. I don't even need to talk about the second season, and this is so outrageously wrong in terms of how to make a logical way for a protagonist to escape from a really tough position, that it made me completely disengage with the entire show. Now, I still watched everything, especially the second season, which was my main reason to watch it, but it was really bad. Now, there is certain aspects of the show that already should immediately disengage you in certain ways. Like how I saw in another video how one of the key components of the show make it fail by itself, which is the fact that only one singular character can level up, therefore he is the only one that is gonna stay relevant for the entirety of the show, which, you know, is already by itself a death sentence to very bad writing, and basically showing that your protagonist is the only thing that matters. And that is something bad when you consider how bad the protagonist is and how fake it feels every single time. But in my opinion, the most problematic part of the show is the following. I knew that the protagonist was not gonna be good. I knew that certain aspects were gonna be meaningless, especially the secondary characters. I knew that the story was not a big deal. Same with the world building. You are not here to watch that. Not at all. You are in solo leveling to watch cool battles. But that is the issue. Do you remember how I said that some battles were good? Yeah, the biggest issue that I have with solo leveling is the fact that the battles actually don't work. You see, one of the things that make a show interesting is the dichotomies behind characters, in this case main protagonists, and the villain. It is always interesting to watch how certain characters can do things the right way, yet with maybe malicious intents, and the other ones do it the wrong way with better intense or a lot of other things in between, and they have to battle each other. Maybe both the protagonist and the villain even have the same goals, but the way to reach them is completely different. In this show, there's nothing like that for the first 2 seasons at the very least. Every single battle, as I already established, against a quote unquote villain is against a cardboard box of a character trying to look cool and trying to kill the main protagonist. There is nothing interesting to be speaking about for any villain. The first villain is the Statue of the Gods, which is kinda interesting as a concept. Then the following one is just a snake, which, to be fair, because it's like the introduction of its powers, I don't care that much. Then they show you how humans can be evil with the guys that constantly are having new missions, and somehow they always need 2 new guys in order for them to complete missions, which, okay, it shows corruption at the very least in the war. I guess that's a little bit of world building, a little bit. But then the show falls into the biggest problem that I ever encountered with it, which is the guy that was part of the Association of Hunters. Which, now that I think about it, Hunter Association? You see, the big moment in which I realized that this show was so truly bad was with the battle with the guy of the association. Prior to the actual battle, you had something truly interesting brewing. The guy was basically there with a couple of prisoners, and they were sent there to make a mission, and that was gonna reduce the sentence of the guys while also allowing these other guys, which in this case is mainly the protagonists, to make their moves, which was something interesting by itself, kinda. Now the whole thing starts looking really interesting when they show why the guy of the association actually was there. He was bribed by a guy in order for him to kill the prisoners, because those prisoners were sexual assaulters and they assaulted the daughter of the guy that paid him, which was a somewhat interesting concept by itself in a show that at that point has shown nothing deep. It was interesting, showing how someone in a position of power is willing to kill others because it's supposed to be the right thing to do. That is something that, makes me actually appreciate it a little bit. Until they show the battle. You see, the guy kills the prisoners, but he also kills some of the companions because they watch him kill the prisoners, which was a very interesting detail. Yeah, he is doing something corrupt, but he is doing it for a good reason. But he's also doing something corrupt. And you remember how I said that he was doing it for a good reason? That is not the case. Yeah, instead of going for he's doing it for the good reasons, they show that instead of that, he wanted to kill the prisoners because he likes to kill. Whether he's a psychopath, a sociopath, an antisocial, I don't know, and I don't care. All of the potentially interesting debate that could have been brewing with that was all stripped away immediately, because instead of that it was just, oh, let's show that no matter what, this guy is bad. So we can have no justification for anyone to believe that what Sung Ji-woo is doing is even slightly wrong. We have to show him do something wrong. We have to show Sung Ji-woo doing everything the perfect way. You see, in a world where now every single writer wants to have a morally gray protagonist, secondary cast, and all of that, having someone that is pure good or pure evil can work at times better than those morally gray characters. Because as I'm saying, with something becoming rarer, a good execution of that rare occurrence makes it way better than a good execution of the average experience. But the thing is that at no point they try to make it something other than a good versus evil. Every single instance of Sung Ji Woo is he being the always good protagonist, killing the bad guys. And the one time that they could have showed that the bad guy was not fully bad was the time that they decide, no, 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 we have to go back just in case. Even if he just happened to kill the villains and also kill the bystanders, it would have still worked to a certain extent because that would have made it so Sung Ji Woo still actually has a justification, which is the fact of he killing the innocent people. But no, they stripped that possibility away because there was no possibility of them showing something bad about Sung Ji Woo. And that stripped every possible case of me actually caring about the secondary characters and secondary villains. Because the only time that one of them was given a personality was eliminated immediately. So from that point onwards, everything was a down spiral of making every character as generic as possible, and the smallest possibility of you caring about having something meaningful behind was completely eliminated. Which is something that ironically, in a show that is supposed to be just be cool, actually is an actual detriment. Because even with a character having something that is supposed to be cool, it loses all of the things that attach you to that story if there's nothing going on. It eliminates the possibility of you being engaged with the battles, and they turn into just some flashy showcase with good choreography, which is not even that good half of the time. Actually, most of the time it's pretty mediocre. So it's not that the choreography is even that good. And combined with the battles being meaningless, it's just like, why would you even watch this? This is not a show with a story that is bad and you watch it because it's interesting to look at. This is not a show that you watch because the battles are good and nothing else. No, the battles are not even good because half of the things that make good a battle is the background behind, not what is happening in battle, but the characters that are portrayed in that battle. There's a reason as to why something like boxing animes are so big, despite the fact that boxing is a pretty normal and very common choreography for the most part. It's because the stories of the characters are important. But when every single villain is a nothing burger and the protagonist is just detrimental to your show, makes it so anyone that doesn't try to actively turn down the brain completely and just watch flashing lights, it makes it a bad experience. Not a mediocre one, a straight up bad one. I tried my hardest to turn down my brain, but it was so damn bad that I couldn't. And every single one of the hype battles was not hype at all, and it was actually awful to watch because there was nothing for me. It was just, oh, he is doing another flash attack. Oh, he won again. Oh, look, the secondary characters in this particular arc are praising him, as every other chapter and every other arc. Woo! And that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was reaching the last arc and knowing that it was a knockoff, cheap, atrocious copy of the Chimera Ant arc from Hunter x Hunter. Oh, the Hunter Association comes back again, huh? In which the authors stripped the Chimera Ant arc for everything of what makes it interesting and good. So he did a copy of Chimera Ant without making anything in the process. Like, I truly believe it that there was no way for you to take the Chimera Ant arc and make it a bad experience. And the creator of Solo Leveling somehow managed to do it. And the last battle was just so pathetic. Once again, when you stop watching just the lights, like you are watching a campfire when you are 12 years old, you start watching something besides that, and you notice that there's nothing. It's just like watching paint dry. Oh, but the painting is splashy. Ooh. No, there's literally nothing good to watch. The whole battle being interesting is not even true, it's just flashy. And the flashiness is even detrimental because it feels unwarranted, it feels undeserved. Why would you give such a phenomenal thing to something that doesn't even try to give you anything? As I said, it's not even that the choreography is good. You're giving a phenomenal animation to a bad story with bad characters and bad battles because they are not good, which is the whole purpose of why you are watching this. There are several shows that can go with literally no story and they can make really, really, really interesting battles in something that is just supposed to be battles. Like, for example, Record of Ragnarok. Like, they are the experts of just showing a battle because there's literally nothing else there. And you know why that works? Because they care about story, they care about implications, and they care about characters, none of which are important for Solo Leveling, which is the reason as to why Solo Leveling fails so hard to be a good story. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. I do not know why I decided to make this rant. I am already sore. I have a sore throat already. But whatever. I guess that I will have to make some more content like this if you like it. But if you don't and you want my normal content, I don't know, comment down below. And as I'm saying, if you liked it, leave a like and subscribe, I guess. So whatever, if you want content that is actually positive and not me forced to watch Solo Leveling again, see you next time. Bye. I hate it here.